Okay,
Okay, we'll call the village board meeting to order on Tuesday, March 16th, 2021 at 6:08 PM. Janelle, could you please take roll call?
Bertle,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Nino.
Here.
It's my understanding that Kadanko is unexcused and Nate Bell will be arriving late.
Okay, is there approval of the agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Baker,
I'll second.
second by Nino. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Duffy,
I'll second.
second by Baker. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. Is there anybody joining us by Zoom or by phone that would like to address the village board? Okay, Janelle, do you want to go through the correspondence?
Sure. There was a notice from Cellcom that states that commencing October 24th, everyone who's been assigned a landline or cell phone number in the 920 area code is going to be required to enter their area code. So basically you're dialing 10 digits when placing calls from either your landline or your cell phone. There was also a thank you letter that was received to neighbor for the donation the village made in memory of Mary Danhausen. Mary is the mother of Miles Danhausen, who serves on a number of committees. Then the winter newsletter from the Wisconsin Humane Society was included in there. There was also an email that was sent to Denise by a gentleman by the name of Kurt Capizzi. In his email, Mr. Capizzi states that he's very disappointed to see that downtown Sister Bay has been transformed from a quaint, beautiful, idyllic town to a very busy, congested place in the summer. He also states that he doesn't want any more hotels. And then lastly, there was an email that was received from Nick Devley. In that email, he describes the timeline that came into play when he and his wife Mary were attempting to gain approvals for the Topwat Kombucha Brewery. At one time, Nick and Mary had said that they wanted to read that letter aloud. I don't know if they're online or not. I don't think so.
Okay, under comments and correspondence, I would like to take a couple of minutes and read something to the rest of the board members and who's ever joining us. I would like to finish the timeline and tell the rest of the story where the Devilies leave off in August so that the board has a more complete synopsis. I am not disputing or confirming the timeline that the Devilies presented in their later. I am only referencing August 2020 forward when I got personally involved with the project. To begin, let me state something that most of you are not aware of. Nick Devily has been verbally abusive to Dave Leno, Bo Bernhoff, and Jared from Robert E. Lee. And yet all of them continued to work with him and on this project to complete it. Bo, the village administrator, was not progressing with the Devleys and the development agreement during August of 2020. Trust had been lost between all parties involved. I entered into the negotiations with Nick and Tom from Alliance Builders on August 15th, 2020. On that day, Nick and I spoke for about a half an hour addressing his concerns. We talked again 2 days later on August 17th for at least a half an hour. And on August 18th, I spoke with Tom from Alliance for 1 hour. All three of these conversations pertain to their objections and concerns with the development agreement. I took notes, told each of them that I would address their issues and get back to them with a revised agreement, hopefully one that would satisfy them so that the Devleys would feel comfortable signing it and moving their project forward. Over the next couple weeks, I reworked the development agreement, and on August 31st, 2020, I sent a revised development agreement to Tom at Alliance. Shortly after I sent the revised development agreement, Nick stated that he still would not sign it until he had actual bids to know whether or not he would be responsible for any additional money for the project. I authorized staff to contact Robert E. Lee to move forward with the bid documents, something that we have not done in the past before a development agreement is signed. But I felt it was the right thing to do to move the project forward and put the Devilies at ease. On November 3rd, 2020, I received an email from Nick stating that they hoped the bids come in at the original estimate and they can proceed with plans to build next spring. The bids were opened on November 4th and came in under budget. So Nick would not have any additional fees for the extension other than the $35,000 he agreed to. A month later, on December 3rd, in an email to Bo, Nick once again stated that he was not comfortable with the development agreement after he and Tom had told me I had addressed all of their concerns except the bid price, and now we had the bid price and it was within budget. I did not hear again from Nick until December 23rd, stating that he will not be signing anything with the village until the people involved in this project can sit at a table in person without face coverings to discuss the final steps on this project. He also stated face masks and social distancing were propaganda at its finest. At this point in time, instead of being all in, I was all out. I tried my best to work with the Devilies, but I failed. On January 15th of 2021, Bo was notified that the Devilies wanted to change their plan again and move the brewery to the south parcel. 2 months later, on March 15th, Bo received a phone call from Nick who stated that they were pulling the entire project. If anyone is interested in doing a deep dive into this situation, all of Bo's emails, about 200, have been printed out along with other documentation, and all of my correspondence and emails will be printed out in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay, item number 1. Public hearing regarding the proposed changes to the sanitary sewer and hauled waste rates. All Sister Bay and Liberty Grove Utility District customers will be charged as of the beginning of the second quarter of service, April 1st, 2021. Bo or Tasha, who would like to take the lead?
I can take the lead.
Okay.
If it's okay, Denise, I would like to give a short report before you begin the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Is the recommendation of the Board of Trustees accept the proposed sewer rate increase that has been recommended by the Utilities Committee? The last sewer rate case and adjustment was implemented in 2018. Through that rate study, sewer rates were increased between 7 and 17%. Once the Utility Committee began the process of working on the modifications to the treatment plant, the committee was made aware of a need for a new rate study. Our rates are reviewed every other year, so this is absolutely normal procedure. While the intention was to complete the rate study in 2020, unforeseen circumstances caused a delay in that rate increase. At this time, the rate study is being presented for approval to ensure that wastewater revenues will support the plant capital improvements, increasing operation and maintenance costs, and the debt service of the wastewater and collection systems. As you can see from the graph on page 55 of your packet, wastewater expenses have been increasing each year, and the wastewater fund has been running an operating loss for the last several years. Expense increases have come in personnel, fuel, electricity, chemicals, and maintenance, so pretty much across the board. Well, this has not presented a cash flow problem to date because an operating loss includes large non-cash expenditures like depreciation. Taking on additional debt payments without a rate adjustment will absolutely result in cash flow issues within the fund in the very near future. The initial engineering report developed by Robert E. Lee for the modification project at the treatment plant stated that the project would cost about $5.5 million and would result in an increase in fixed charges of $60 per quarter per user, or an increase of 66.6%. With that in mind, staff started working with the DNR to secure funding for the modifications. The DNR was able to provide a low-interest loan. However, they were not able to provide any grant funding. So we sought out another alternative. We worked with the USDA and were able to secure grant funding of $1.626 million and a low-interest loan for the remainder of the project. At the time we obligated the project with the USDA, the interest rate on the loan was 2.75%. That has since been reduced to 1.75%, which saves an additional $22,000 in interest costs per year. Between the low interest loan and the grant funding, we have been able to reduce the expected fixed rate change by almost half of the planned increase. So what you have in your packets is the sewer rate study as it has been prepared and presented to the Utilities Committee and accepted by the Utilities Committee. There are significant rate increases, but this should be no surprise to either the Utilities Committee or to the full board. This is something that I believe the full board has been aware of for a while. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, that's what I have for you, and you can begin the public hearing, and I'll answer any questions that arise.
Okay, at 6:19, I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody zooming or calling in that would like to speak on this issue?
Please unmute yourself if you wish to speak.
Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 6:20. Do the board members have any questions for Tasha?
I don't have a question other than to say thank you for all the hard work. And I think it was a great summary to provide everybody that kind of transparency of what's going on.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I do have one. I'm assuming that everybody in their bills was notified that there was a public hearing on rate changes.
So the public hearing has been posted and noticed properly. Yeah. It actually, I expected to hear some comments. I saw it on Facebook with some people making comments. So I expected some people to be here tonight, but apparently not.
Yeah, and well, my wife forwarded me one comment like that, and I was wondering, so the village, is there a way to get maybe just that summary, a typed letter of that out onto Facebook, that if somebody wanted to see that, or is that on our website, or?
Yeah, what we could do is post a summary on the website about the background and attach that to the rate increase, to the sewer rate study. And I think we can leave that posted for a while.
Good idea.
Thanks.
And maybe when we send out the next bills, when we send out first quarter bills, we'll have to, on the bill, there's usually a small notice that we can put in there, and we'll direct them to the website.
Great.
Good idea.
Super.
One thing that I brought up at the Utilities Committee when we were reviewing this was that for the average Sister Bay customer, the average bill, that it would cost $2.25 a day. And I thought that was pretty reasonable price to be able to get water out of your tap and flush your toilet, not an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, if you really break it down, yes, the percentages are high, but that doesn't, percentage is high, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a huge burdensome increase. And so by breaking it down, I thought that that was an interesting number. So, okay, with that being said, Janelle, do you have a motion?
Yeah, well, you have to go to the next one because that's
Oh.
your resolution.
Okay, all right, so then is there a motion to approve resolution number 455031621? The only question that I had on the resolution is the third whereas. It talks about a duly noticed public hearing was conducted on a potential sewer rate increase. Does the word potential, is that appropriate in here?
That's how the last one was worded, so I kept it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's potential until you guys approve it.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
okay. I'll make a motion to approve that resolution. Motion by Berto,
I'll second it. Denise.
second by Baker. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 3, discussion regarding an update on the village's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I see that Dave is with us tonight. You have the floor, Mr. Lino.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Hi, Dave.
Thank you for raising my rate so I can continue to drink water out of my tap and flush my toilet. The update on the COVID situation I got today at the admin committee from the health department and human services and our emergency director. The vaccination clinics continue. They are down to less than 200 on the wait list. They're continuing to get more vaccine each week as they request. It's getting more and more. So they anticipate being able to really whittle down the wait list. As you are all aware, I believe it's April 1st, the new list opens up to everybody else that is a frontline worker, such as grocery store clerks, et cetera. There is an entire list of people that are eligible for that. Of the current people that are going, particularly those over 65 and with pre-existing conditions, in Door County, currently 70% of people that fall in that category have had at least one vaccine shot and are waiting for their second. I got my second one on Saturday. So thankful about that. So that the county is number 5 in the state. We're in the top 5 of percentages of getting our vaccinations done throughout our population. The public health department also anticipates that when this opens up the 1st of May to everybody, that they will be able to continue to meet the demand as based on the amount of vaccine that they receive. The other issue that they're addressing is they're hiring what's called LTEs, or limited term employees, nurses in particular, or people that are authorized to give vaccinations. They're doing that because currently the emergency services, the EMTs, the paramedics, et cetera, are providing a lot of that service at the clinics and the offsite clinics, and they're coming in on their days off to do that. But as it gets busier in the summer, they will not be available to do that as their schedules change. So in anticipation of that and still being able to keep up the volume of vaccinations that we anticipate doing, they're hiring those limited term employees to do that. So they continue to work with the pharmacies, and they also continue to work with the hospital in trying to coordinate the vaccinations. But overall, it appears to be going well, and they continue to whittle down their wait list. Again, they were very happy that it appears that the supply of vaccine continues to increase, and they expect it to continue to increase in the weeks ahead. That's what I know about the COVID situation at the moment, unless you have a particular question about it from the county level.
No, thank you.
Welcome.
I just like to make a comment, Dave. I went down to Sturgeon and went through the emergency services there, and it went so smoothly. I guess they're doing 500 a day. If it wasn't for the 15-minute wait, I don't think I would have been there 10 minutes. Just very impressed with how they're handling everything.
Yes, we've gotten a great response, and I think the next one they're doing 700, Scott. So
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So then our next item is a discussion regarding the potential extension of the Village of Sister Bay's declaration of public health emergency. And this would be through, what was that date, Scott?
April 30th, I believe.
Thank you, April 30th. I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Berto, second by Baker. Any discussion?
Do we still have to do this? At this point, I just think the risk is so low that there's going to be an emergency. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, can we start thinking of winding this down? I guess.
As somebody who's been kind of a pain about this, making sure we're only doing it on a monthly basis. I hope that point is soon, but I think at this point we need to, and I think the other issue for this is making sure that we are eligible for any funding that comes through from federal and state sources.
Correct.
But I'm really glad we're doing it on a monthly basis since we're meeting monthly anyway, but I do see some point in keeping it going.
Okay.
I do see an end. I do think that, I hope that by the end of the year, we're not renewing this, but
Yes, Dave?
One quick comment that came out of the admin meeting today was the federal government, of course, under the newly passed COVID relief bill that they just passed, is allocating funds out to states, counties, and municipalities. And again, it's based on COVID-related expenses and items, which is part of what you're talking about. But the county was notified that they're going to receive $5.3 million in additional COVID funding relief. And each municipality, township, and city and village is also going to be receiving funds, but I don't know if they've been notified yet. But they are to be used for a various number of things for COVID refunding, if you will. But they've also expanded the use of the fund, so you can spread it across many more things, including tourism, advertising, safety measures that you want to advertise, et cetera, things you want to do within the village or a city or a township. So I agree with the board's discussion about continuing it primarily from the financing side of things and get that reimbursement as you stay under that emergency level.
Thank you. We need a vote, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All those in favor respond with an aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Item 5, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission that the village board pass and adopt ordinance number 277-0316-2021 that approves Mark and Nicole Capomacchio's request for a conditional use permit that will allow the construction of a second dwelling unit on the property located at 10839 North Bay Shore Drive.
Yep, just for a quick rundown, this is for a secondary dwelling unit located on the property. It's a single family home. The secondary dwelling unit will be above a detached garage. It does meet all the zoning requirements, and there was restrictions put in place by Plan Commission.
Now, I talked to Janelle about this earlier today on the ordinance itself, where it talks about the village clerk shall see that a deed restriction is recorded in the office of the Register of Deeds for Door County and is as timely as fashion as possible, which states that no type of transient rentals will be allowed in the previously mentioned second dwelling unit. As we work through definitions in the zoning code, I plan on adding a new term, which is short-term rentals or STRs. And so I guess I would like a / transient rental, short-term rentals, parentheses, STRs for short, so that this covers that as Plan Commission moves forward with definitions and maybe new criteria. And then also, Janelle, would you like to address what the Latin thing that we talked about today?
Sure. Well, Randy Nesbitt and I had talked about some of the issues that we have. In the past, we've said that a deed restriction has to be recorded in the office of the Register of Deeds, and that's the responsibility of the property owners. There have been a few instances where people have failed to do that because it does tie up their property. And so when Randy and I were talking, we came to the conclusion that another way around that would be to issue what's called a list pendants and record that list pendants in the Register of Deeds office. So I drafted that up. Randy looked at it and approved it. And so from now on, in situations like that, we'll be recording a list pendants. Typically, if people have something recorded by the village, we charge them. So you guys would have to decide whether or not you want Heidi to bill the Capamachios for those recording fees, or if the village will assume them.
No, it will be the property owner's responsibility, would be my opinion. They are asking for the request.
Okay,
Seems reasonable.
And I don't think we should charge less than $20 because otherwise it's not transacting the funds.
yeah, it'll be more than that. I believe it's like 33 or something like that.
That's what the expense is, or that's what we're going to charge?
That's what the expense is.
That sounds like $50 then, because it does take some of Heidi's time.
Okay, we can add that onto the schedule of, what's the spreadsheet that's hanging up in the wall at the office that I just,
It's a fee schedule.
the fee schedule. So we can add that to it and add that as a $50.
So do you
Okay,
want to address that at the next meeting?
yes.
Okay.
Well,
I don't
Because you
think we
can make
need
it
to.
part of your
I don't-
motion that the fee will be $50.
yes, yes. Because I changed today or yesterday, the plan commission fee, which we had not addressed since a year ago when we changed what the plan commission members get paid. And Bo said that that's just an administrative thing that we need to cover our costs. And we were at 400, now it's 750. So. Okay, so do you have that, with those changes made then, Janelle, do you have a
Yep.
motion?
Okay, so the village, okay, that the plan commission is in, oh, that's not right, sorry. That the village board passes and adopts ordinance number 277 that approves Mark and Nicole Capamacchio's request for a conditional use permit that will allow the construction of a second dwelling unit on the property located at 10839 North Bay Shore Drive, which has been assigned a parcel number of 181270021, on the condition that the conditions that are delineated in the resolution must be revised in such fashion that it states that short-term rentals, STRs, are also prohibited in the second dwelling unit. A statement shall also be added which states that the village clerk will bill Mr. and Mrs. Capamacchio $50 for the recording fee for a related list pendants.
And that their permit will not, I thought we also talked about that fee had to be paid.
Oh, that's right. Okay, and.
So we'll add that to it, that
and
the fee for the recording needs to be paid before they get their permit.
Okay,
And that's going to be standard new policy so that we don't have to be chasing people for $50 and wasting more time.
okay.
I'll make that motion.
Well, second,
Second by Bell. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 6, discussion regarding the recommendation from staff that the village board review the letter from the town of Liberty Grove regarding road projects in 2021 and 2022. Bo?
Yeah, so attached in the packet was a letter sent from Bud over from the town. Basically, we sent them a heads up on projects that we wanted to complete for 2021. The main one that they were being addressed was the Woodcrest repaving project. They did respond that they have already planned their 2021 road projects, and this was not part of the budget. However, they would like to redo all of Woodcrest in 2022. So they were requesting that we hold off on our portion just to make it a smooth project and transition, so it's not two different construction projects. So it's being brought to the board to discuss any alternatives that we might want to consider while the money is budgeted, to look at other roads and consider any other repaving projects that we could do.
Tasha, would you like to chime in and refresh the memory of the board that when the town of Liberty Grove redid Hill Road that we were responsible for, we received no notice?
We received absolutely zero notice. We received a bill and that was our notice.
And how much was that for? Do you
Oh, I don't-
roughly?
Like 30,000.
Yeah, I don't recall, but
It was about $30,000. And essentially they said that they would hold the bill until end of year so we could budget for it.
we did eventually pay that Hill Road bill.
Yep.
And I think this is a better way of going about this, is if we're communicating between municipalities and planning for the future, and both sides understand and can budget for it. It's
Absolutely.
It sounds like the town would be willing to do some extra work on the Woodcrest if we can hold it for a year. So it gives us an idea or an opportunity to capture there. But this, this money is budgeted and there are some sections in Sister Bay that could use some attention. So if we have the money budgeted, we should talk about options moving forward.
The only way that I would be willing to postpone this project until next year is if we have written confirmation that it will be done and they will budget the funds. Something that's tangible and legal. To just put it off on their word, I'm sorry.
I don't know that we could hold them to that. I mean,
Yeah, and I look at this letter as their written information and their consent that if we hold it, then they will do this next year. I mean, it's clear as day in the paper.
So let's say this does move forward. Is this all done by committee or by staff as to how that road's going to be redone?
This originally went to the Parks Committee for the first round for the Woodcrest and Orchard Drive. And that's where it was budgeted for. So any future projects, if we move forward, would be through Parks and Streets. I guess this was just an opportunity for the board to understand what's going on with the town and maybe offer some guidance for parks just initially. Obviously, we've gotten some assessments from Bill Wegehopt that's in the packet. Dan Lundquist has some options that we could present at park. This was just information we wanted to provide.
I guess something that I'd like to make sure that we're reviewing that I think that and I myself have certainly missed the boat on here. And this came about because I really started thinking about the parking problem. I know this sounds a little bit of a stretch, but we have very little infrastructure that isn't related to cars. And Woodcrest is an off-highway road that would be a very good place to put a bike and pedestrian path and do it right. And if we're going to delay this a year, let's take advantage and make sure we're planning this as much as we can. And perfectly honestly, yes, I will use that a lot, but I'm not the only one. That is a significant draw to Door County. And I think moving forward, it will be an even more significant draw post-pandemic.
That's a great idea, Nate.
Yep.
A unique opportunity, as well as the Woodcrest Road connects to our sports complex, and obviously we have more property in that area, so just more to consider when it comes to bike path or trail connections.
Okay, if we have general consensus that we will postpone this, I guess that suggestion, Nate, can go to Parks. Parks meets, when do we meet in April? The second Monday?
I thought it was the first Monday.
I know, but I couldn't remember if that was actually. Is it the 5th?
Yes, it's the 5th.
Okay, all right. So how quickly would Parks have to come up with an alternative? Because and would we still be doing Orchard
From my discussions to this point, I think we move ahead with Orchard as it was already budgeted and placed.
Okay.
And we use the funding from Woodcrest to look at alternatives.
Okay, so we, from the highway department, they gave us an estimate of $61,000, which was going to pave 2,275 feet. The bid for Woodcrest, which was only half of Woodcrest, or 21 feet wide, our share, 92,600. When we do a road, when we do Orchard, what is the entire width that we're paving?
20 feet wide.
Okay, so then why did you tell me Woodcrest was 21?
Woodcrest is 21 feet wide. The portion that you're talking about, ZZ to Plateau Road, is 2,720 feet. So it's the 21 feet is the entire width. The section that we're talking about is ZZ to Plateau, which is 92,600, and then Plateau to Flint Ridge Road, $91,000.
Okay, I just didn't understand the width difference. If Orchard's 20 wide, why is Woodcrest 21?
That's the width of the entire road.
Okay, isn't there a standard that? I'm just questioning, why is there a difference if they're village roads?
Well, I wonder if with Woodcrest going out to the wastewater treatment plant and a lot of larger trucks, if for some reason that's just what it is.
I look at Woodcrest as a significantly larger road. It's about, it's over double in size. I don't know if that 1 foot was, if that's 20 feet is the minimum and they just did 21.
Okay,
Where did that width number come from? Is that from a survey?
That's from the construction estimates from the county when we originally asked.
So I mean, I'm just, and I know GIS isn't, the site is not 100% accurate, but I just did 4 different measurements on Orchard, and I'm showing that it's somewhere between 21 and 22 feet wide. So maybe they were just estimating too. So
It is just an estimate.
yeah,
I'm looking at Woodcrest and from my measurement, it's about 21 feet.
okay. All right, so basically if we're postponing Woodcrest until next year, we have $92,000 that we could spend on other roads. So Parks will address that then, I guess, if we have general consensus on everything else, and hopefully then can make a determination at that April 5th meeting. So then our suggestion can come to the board on the 20th and we can move forward. And Bo, will you make sure that you put in the parks packet, the county's bids?
Yep, I already put it in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now what I've got is that in accord with the request of officials from the town of Liberty Grove, the repaving of Orchard Drive and the bordering section of Woodcrest Road between ZZ and Flint Ridge Road shall be postponed for 1 year. Is that correct?
Not Orchard, we're still doing Orchard.
Okay, so you have to address that then. You have to do a motion for that then, right? If
Say
you
that
want-
again.
It's just in the budget.
Yeah, it's already budgeted. They don't need a motion for that.
Okay. Okay, so it would be from the town of Liberty Grove, the repaving of the bordering section of Woodcrest Road between ZZ and Flint Ridge Road, is that right? That shall be postponed?
Yep.
Okay, for 1 year. The recommendation is also made that the Parks, Property and Streets Committee consider additional improvements that could be made to Woodcrest Road that will allow for the creation of a safe bicycle path on Woodcrest. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else on that subject?
Well, I've got one comment. I'm looking at alternative roads. There's a few that are highlighted in this list. If that's what we're looking at next, which I don't have any issue with, one of them is Mill. Depending upon where in Mill, I think there's parts of Mill that need water, stormwater work. So we would just want to be sure. I wouldn't want to see us repave a road and then have to go back at some reason, short amount of time and have to do other work. We should be understanding what we're going to do.
I understand that Mill is, one of the worst roads in the village, but because it needs so much other infrastructure, I wouldn't even recommend Parks even to look at that, because that's a bigger project that Robert E. Lee is trying to engineer, with the
Yep,
storm sewer, the paving, the electrical, everything else like that. So as bad as it is, Mill's not going to be the recommendation, I would imagine.
Okay.
And we're okay with next year's budget by pushing this back a year? It's not going to affect anything?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
These are largely Pratt funds, right? So we would
Yes.
expect additional Pratt funds to replenish what we're,
Yes.
Thank you.
You're concurring, Tasha?
Yes, those are Pratt funds that we were using for repaving.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 7. Discussion regarding and confirmation of President Burrow's recommended appointments. I am pleased to announce that if the board tonight approves my recommendations, that Plan Commission will have a 7-member board.
wow.
Yes, yes, very excited. So my recommendations are Lauren Ward and David Schmitz. Some of you may know Lauren Ward. She was Lauren Bremer. She was a volleyball coach for a while up at Gibraltar. She's also on the school board. Very interested in what's going on and wants to get involved. And David Schmitz has been vacationing here for decades, and 5 years ago, I think they bought a home, and last year they became permanent residents. I think he might live down near you, Pat. I'm not sure. Thought he was in that area.
Okay.
Anyway, had great conversations. Bo interviewed both of them. I also talked to both of them. They sound great. Lauren, unfortunately, is pregnant with her 3rd child. As of today, she is 3 days overdue. So they're talking about inducing, so she may miss the regular Plan Commission meeting next week and our next work session, but she thinks after that she'll be up and running. So that's
Excellent.
yeah, I'm very, very excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am pretty sure there will be some heated conversations there, and I'm pretty sure I will be opposed to Lauren on some things, but I think it'll be great. And I really look forward to it because it's really intelligent conversation that will come from that. I've known her for many years.
Interesting commentary. Okay, thank you, Nate. So if somebody would care to confirm my recommendations, that would be appreciated.
I'll make a motion that we confirm.
Motion by Bell,
I'll second it.
second by Baker. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Janelle or Bo, did they come and pick up the zoning code today?
No, not yet.
I emailed it to them and
I
told them
love
I
that.
wanted a hard
A
copy.
digital copy, that's fantastic.
I'm sorry, what, Janelle?
I emailed it to them and told them if they wanted to come and pick up a hard copy, just to let me know. But I haven't done anything yet.
Because I told them a hard copy would be available this afternoon.
It
Oh,
can be available to them if they come and pick it up.
yeah, it'll just be take a matter of.
If they want it.
No, they said that they did. That's why. That's why. Okay.
Okay, just so that you're aware, Denise, we looked at the term list, and from
Yes.
the way it looks, who do you want to fill the term that expires in May of 2023? And who do you want to take the term that expires in May of 21?
Oh,
One of them was Jordan's and the other one was a vacant position. Because we have to have those 2-year staggered terms.
right. Okay, well, why don't we just we'll re-ante Lauren up then in May of 2021 and we'll put David through May of 2023.
Okay.
Report on county activities from County Supervisor Dave Lino.
Hello again. Last month, we talked about briefly, there was a conversation about the new brine plant that was being installed in Door County out at the airport. And I wanted to give you an update because there was also some questions. I don't remember if it was at the board or at Parks about concentration and putting brine and salt down and that sort of thing. And I got some information as a result of those questions. The brine solution that is put on the roads is 22 to 27% salt. Okay. The rest of it is water. It is put down, it does stick to the road. It's put there so when there is ice or snow, it lessens the amount of time to clean the roads. If it's a very light snowfall, it just melts the snow or ice and just moves on. If it's a heavy snowfall, it doesn't allow the snow to stick to the road as much, so it takes less fuel, less energy, less effort to remove the snow that was there as a result of the brining. On the ecological side, regular rock salt, when it's applied, on an average winter in Door County and in Wisconsin, there's 1,000 pounds of salt per 1 mile of roads used in the past, okay? When you put coarse salt down, 20 to 25% of it bounces off to the road and is no longer on the roadway when it's applied, okay? Another 15 to 20% of it is moved off the roadway by cars and trucks and other vehicles going through it before it begins to do its job. So almost 40% of your salt is lost before it even starts to do anything during a snowfall or after a snowfall. So it's fairly inefficient. So if you look at the brine side of things, you're using anywhere from 70 to 90% less salt on your roads. And it's actually being applied to the road and it's staying on the road. Very little of it travels off the road surface and gets into waterways or causes other ecological problems. That's why the brining has become such a big issue, especially in the northern states that are using it for snow and ice and trying to prevent snow and ice accumulation on the roads. The other thing to note is in Door County, it's only applied to state highways, as that's the state requirement to do that. It's not applied any place else within it. So those are the updates. If you have any questions about that, I may be able to, answer it or respond to it. But I thought I did want to get that information back to you as to why it's gone that direction in most of the states in the northern side of America or the United States, because it is much more efficient. There's less ecological damage associated with it, and it doesn't cause long-term issues because it pretty much stays on the road. Now, that being said, studies also do show it also sticks to your car as well as it sticks to the road. And so you always hear these stories about there's more rust going on in vehicles that are in northern states where they use brine. That's probably true. Most mechanics will tell you that more rust does occur on cars, especially their frames. And they do recommend car mechanics and brine appliers. The state itself also does recommend that you wash your car regularly in winter if you are in an area that brines the roads because of that. So FYI.
So Dave, if it's only applied to state highways, then for example, Maple Drive, what's being put on that?
It's not, to my knowledge, it's not brine unless the village has asked them to brine it.
Okay, so then there would be no treatment of any kind on the side roads unless the village requests it.
That's correct. Now, that being said, I do know that sometimes, like down Highway 42, they will do some of the turns. So if they'll go out maybe 100 feet past both sides of either intersection. But that's part of what they call doing the highway. So the ingress and egress off the highways would probably also be done. And I'm sure if they're making a turn somewhere and coming back on the highway, they just leave it on. And so some, smaller side roads may get some of it on it, but it mostly would be where it actually connects back to either 42 or 57.
And Bo, are you aware of, has the village requested the brining to be done on any other roads?
No.
Okay. Excellent update, because I had asked, I think last month for at parks or whatever for material data safety sheets. There aren't any. They just said it was brine and water, but didn't get a whole lot of information. So this is good information and answers a lot of my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, they're not using salt on any of the streets, residential streets in Sister Bay at all. They just.
I don't-
sand.
I don't know about that. It depends upon what the village has had them do in the past.
Okay.
We ask them to salt and sand as they deem appropriate.
Yes,
Because they're
that's what
out
I was
there
gonna
and they
say
know
is
what the condition of the roads are.
we leave it based off of snow predictions, and they know that if it's gonna be bad, we use salt, but if it's light dusting or small amount, we try to stick to sand.
Okay, just,
I think they've
Okay,
been
so it is
predominantly,
up.
they've been predominantly sand back where I am, and I'm in a cul-de-sac coming out, which I
Yeah.
appreciate because it would be hard to get out without it. But yeah, I don't recall them ever seeing salt on the road.
Yeah, they sand around us too.
I
Yeah,
live
well-
on a small hill, and so they do salt that.
It just depends on your driver and what the conditions of the road are, what he thinks is appropriate.
Okay, thanks.
Because they used to leave that up to us to make the decision, and it just didn't, it wasn't convenient for the guys from the highway shop. If we were gone, then they had to call one of us at home, and it just works better that way.
Oh, yes, I remember when Rich Weisgerber would call me up at 3 o'clock in the morning at home. Do you want your roads plowed? What do you want us to use? I don't care, just do it. Okay, so the county uses their own best judgment on whether they use salt or sand. And when we're talking about the salt or sand, is the salt the rock salt or it's the brining?
It's
It's rock salt.
Okay,
on side roads. On the highway, they'll use the brine.
right,
Yes.
okay. All right,
Well, this year we've been fortunate, we haven't had a lot of snow. In prior years, our road usually by the middle of December until past now is a solid sheet of ice, multiple inches thick. So if there would be a way, if the brine is going to help, if we're going to get a big storm or something, I'd be all in favor of the brine. For walkers, it's crazy. I mean, literally the entire road is a sheet of ice that, yes, you can walk on it gingerly with yak tracks because of a little bit of sand, but there's no salt happening. I mean, honest to God, it is a layer of solid ice, the entire road, which I
So-
think is kind of crazy.
On the brining deal, they put brine down prior to a storm.
Yep.
But they have to use rock salt or sand after a storm.
Okay.
So the brining is made to be a surfactant basically, so it's easier to clean off. But if you're trying to get rid of snow or ice that's several inches deep, it's got to be rock salt or sand that's applied to it. And I think if the village would contact the county and they have particular roads, like your one you're speaking about, Spring Road, that builds up ice, I think you could contact them and explain what you'd like to do. And the next time they make passes, they would probably be happy to go in and salt them down and try and get rid of some of that ice buildup.
I think it depends on the road and whatever. We've got a lot of mature trees, so there's a lot of shade. So if it doesn't get much sun, it just does not melt. I mean, for months, it's just. Yeah.
Yep.
so how about that, we also talk about this at parks, get some information from the county and somehow maybe get the word out to the people that live in Sister Bay about their own particular roads. I don't know how best we do that, but just like, okay, so if Pat wasn't on the board, we wouldn't know that South Spring was really a hazard because it's heavily shaded and it's very treacherous. So how would we go about, and I guess not asking the board to figure that out, but I guess parks would have to figure out how to contact people to see how the condition of their roads are in the winter and if it's working or not working, because we may be thinking about changing and coming up with a plan.
Looking at options.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The other items, moving to the county board things, admin was today, the county board meeting for March is next Tuesday. But in admin, we passed a resolution to pass to the county board. This is an annual resolution or proclamation that Travel and Tourism Week starts May 2nd for Door County. We also passed a diversity, equality, and inclusion resolution. This has been kicking around the board for the last 4 or 5 months. And we passed one today at the admin to send it back up to the county board for their purview and voting and discussion. And the other thing that was discussed today was 2 things. There was a transportation program update. The transportation program update included a change in the name. They completely redid vans. They completely redid what was taxis. They redid the passenger vans from the ADRC. It's now part of, I think it's called the Door Link or Door County Link system and network. And that is now up and running. We were also given some great news in that 2020, the federal government CARES Act paid for any shortfall in any transportation systems in Door County. So we were about $170,000 short due to obviously lower ridership and less capacity. And so the federal government will provide that funding to bring that up. So there's no additional cost to the county. And that is also going to continue, it appears, through 2021. So for a 2-year period of time, the federal government is paying 100% of the operational shortfall of any transportation system that we have in the county. So that's great news, of course. The other thing was Door County government operations. We decided to continue through March, maintaining the cutback or the holdback in public access to the facilities. That will change beginning April 1st. Beginning April 1st, they will start to reopen the facilities. Initially, they're going to go back to a 50% capacity. And then probably by the end of April, as they move into May, as long as COVID continues on the trajectory that it is, it'll probably go back to more of a fully open stance. The discussion at this point in time, like everybody's having, is what is the new normal? Nobody quite knows that yet. We don't know what some of the guidance we're going to get from CDC or the federal government or the state health department is going to be as vaccination and quote herd immunity and things like that begin to become a reality. Nobody truly knows yet what the new normal is, but we anticipate continuing to move towards that new normal as we move in through April and May, and hopefully get to a much more normal summer than we had last year. And that's all I got, unless you got questions for me.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You
Yeah,
also.
thank you.
Okay, village administrators report.
Yeah, so it was a pretty lengthy one. I tried to spread it out based off of what's going on. Plan Commission is working on the zoning code update. We've started tackling some definitions. We'll continue to finish up on definitions before we get to the actual changing of the language in the code. We are obviously on a 6-month timeline, but I think we're doing pretty well. We're meeting bi-weekly at this point. So I will update you as we go along with that. Parks and Streets, they were not able to meet in March, so I just wanted to pass along some information on what's going on the day-to-day side. I did have both Dan Klansky and Dan Lundquist meet me out at Pebble Beach because the Pebble Beach committee wanted me to try and figure out parking before the summer and try and get some type of resolve for parking this year because obviously we're anticipating a pretty heavy turnout. We met with the land trust last week and went through some options to maybe get a temporary parking lot in place with as many natural materials as possible without needing to do any paving. But there will need to be some grading and some drainage plans for that. So we're in the early stages, but we're waiting for the sign off from the land trust before we go ahead and knock any trees down in that easement area, which is pretty small. I also have Parks working with the fire station to get some of that painting completed that was asked for. So I will have an update on that soon. Jim did talked to me about a situation that happened, I believe, last year. Parks had talked about painting and striping some signage for the parking lot behind the post office and behind Wild Tomato because of the pedestrian traffic. You get a lot of kids crossing that parking lot and running through to go to the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So there was some talk about adding some striping. Jim had a really unique idea about reverting and changing that Hendrickson Park sidewalk to match what is existing at the pavilion in the park area. Right now, without pulling up a map, because I don't have one ready, if the pavilion and park sidewalk is here, our sidewalk from Hendrickson Park kind of goes here, and then the driveway continues. So as we need to do some landscaping and some work at Hendrickson Park anyways, we thought we might as well get some quotes and see what an option would look like to make the sidewalk match along the far side, thus moving the pedestrian traffic out of the parking lot area. So once I hear from some quotes, I will add that to the parks agenda. Marina meets tomorrow, but just something that the board should be aware of. We are doing some bathroom remodeling, and Martell needs to come in and finish up their work on ADOC. I believe we have a builder coming to meet with the marina manager and with our parks manager in the near future here to get some options and to get moving before the marina is open for business. The bathrooms was one of the biggest complaints that we heard from last year, and I think that there's some minor things that we can do to make that a lot better.
The meeting's tomorrow.
Yep, the meeting is tomorrow. Yep. Just some minor development updates. I put that in there. I won't run through them one by one, but just wanted to add another update. Tim Halbrook's apartments over in Ava Hope Courts along 57 there. They're moving pretty quickly. Building 1, that shell's almost complete. They're working on the roof already. I saw a crane out there this morning. So that's another project slated to be on schedule. I did contact the owner of the Fat Belly restaurant and just reminding them that their parking lot does need to be paved this year. We did put a timeline on that last year. And then just letting everyone know, obviously we've had some substantial warm weather for March and the ice rink did close a little early. However, they were able to open up early. We should see some pretty good revenue numbers from there. So they were able to open up for the holiday season. And then lastly, just finance. From the finance side, we did have the audit done in February and it went smoothly. It was a pretty tight office space with everyone in there, but we did wear masks and social distance and kept doors closed, and it was closed to the public. So if anyone has any questions, just feel free to ask.
Thank you.
If nobody has questions, do you want to run us through the lead operator report? Or I guess you don't have to, does anybody have any questions about that report?
No. I'm good.
Okay, then we will move on to the bills. I'll make a motion to pay the bills for $2,924,844.87. Motion by Berto,
I'll second.
second by Nino. Any questions?
I have nothing.
Tasha answered all of my questions earlier today. I noticed that on the first page of the bills, we paid an interest payment on Pebble Beach for about $18,500. Where are we with the grant?
Yeah, so I just talked to Jessica, who's been our representative from the DNR. About 2 weeks ago, they were going through the appraisal process, which has to be done and finished up before the joint review board. She's going to let me know when we are on the joint review board agenda. And as she does so, I will pass that information along to the board. And just so the board's aware, I will be contacting our representatives before the joint review board, just so that they are prepared, they know what's going on with the project, and they could answer any questions if it comes up.
Okay, excellent. Okay. All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Janelle, would you like to run us through?
Committee reports?
Yeah,
Okay. Administrative Committee has not met. Communication and Technology. They
Paul and
have,
I have been talking.
Yep.
I think we'll have something to do pretty soon here.
okay, Coastal Byways.
Coastal Byways did meet March 3rd. I was not able to attend, but I do have the minutes. Yay, they're celebrating the fact that they're designated officially a National Scenic Byway. There will be new signage. They're going to be asking York County Board if they will help with the installation costs. They don't know yet. They don't have the number of signs or any posts needed or the cost yet, but that's kind of on the plan. They're looking at doing a grand opening. That's in the planning stages. Most likely that will be at Lakeside Park in Jacksonport. They are looking at applying for a GEM grant. November 1st would be the deadline for the next round. With a 3-year destination marketing plan. The first year would pay for the website rebuild. The second year, they would focus on earned media and influence campaign. And year 3 would be a social media campaign. One of the things they're looking at is promoting motor coach tours. They were also looking to do more off-season promotion for off-season tourism. So that's what I've got for Coastal Byways questions. Hopefully I can answer them.
With them applying for a GEM grant, I also know that Destination Door County has also done that. And in the past, I'm wondering, is this something that could be, turned over to Destination Door County?
There is there is some overlap. I think Destination Door County, they are represented on the Coastal Byway Committee, or the council, I'm sorry. And so they're involved with that too. They're doing, actually Destination Door County is doing they're helping with that. So I don't know what more to say about that. I know they're involved.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
DCEDC.
Met yesterday, and actually something interesting I found out about Coastal Byways at that meeting is Coastal Byways operates under the DCEDC's 50C31. And I think there's going to be some changes in there that there's no issue, but it's just a matter of, I found it very interesting.
Yeah, they don't do their it's like any funding, they have to, basically the checks are all written out through.
Yeah,
Finance.
there was some discussion of that yesterday, and I think there'll be some, what they realized is there weren't some policies. The discussion yesterday was talking about the incubator and the overall push to make the incubator more of an incubator instead of having it be where businesses stay for a long time. That's perceived as an issue there. It's not doing its role. There's a lot of talk about setting policies where it hadn't been recorded in the past, where there was just word of mouth passed down through people that have been there a long time. And that's what happens when you start an organization and you have employees stay there a very long time. So I think that's a little bit of a challenge. They did just have their operations guy, Tom Strong. He's now at the Village of Egg Harbor. So they've got some things that are a little bit, the books were a little bit of a mess. They actually had 3 sets of books come to the meeting yesterday to get approved. But now they've got Kerber Rose working on that. So they did get it all untangled. That was a little bit unusual. And then the other thing is they're working on this broadband survey. And I'm serving on the business review committee there.
Yay.
Excellent. Thanks, Nate.
Okay, ad hoc emergency management plan has not met. Finance has not met. Fire commission?
Fire board has not met, nor has the exploratory.
Okay, ad hoc Friends of Pebble Beach.
Meet Monday.
And the minutes for the February 17th meeting were in the packets. Historical Society?
We did meet earlier in the month, basically talked about planning for the season, exactly what we're going to be able to do. talked about docents, the Christmas market in 2021. I think I mentioned this last month that the shadow funding is very disappointing. Bob Jiske will be talking about the barn and the Kessel Granary about, he's going to talk to some people about and taking a look at things. So about moving those things.
Okay.
So happy to hear that.
They're pretty excited about the barn.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay.
So that's a granary, right?
Got the granary up there on.
Okay.
so
And
that's-
ice rink.
Has not met.
Okay. In the
Well, they
minutes-
met February 12th, and the minutes are in the packet.
Yeah. Ad hoc land acquisition oversight has not met yet.
Right, Chad said that he bullied me into not having a meeting until April. I really wanted to get it going in February. And then he was gonna be out of town and out of touch so much in March. But he was supposed to be, he promised me that he would contact everybody, set up multiple meetings starting in April, a couple of weeks apart, to try to get a good head start, meeting every 2 weeks and throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So that's up and coming that I'm aware of.
Okay. Library commission.
Has not met since the minutes. No, there weren't any minutes in here. Has not met.
Eh, Marina committee. They'll be meeting tomorrow, I know.
Correct.
Okay. Marina Fest, they're meeting on Thursday, March 8th.
Thursday, that is correct. And one of the things we're going to start talking about in that is we're going to start discussing the distribution of funds when we reach that point, but we're going to get a head start and start talking about it now rather than waiting till the last minute.
Good idea.
Okay. Okay, parks, property and streets.
Minutes are in there from February 9th.
Happy to see we're going to have concerts.
Yes.
And movies. Okay, personnel.
Wait. On page 101, this is where I start to have questions or follow-up. The committee, starting on line 1 on page 101, the committee members requested that as soon as the weather warms up, Lundquist see that the village's COVID-19 banners and the larger COVID-19 signs again will be erected. And then they also requested that a large COVID-19 sign be erected in a prominent location at the sports complex and stated that they would like to see 2 more COVID-19 banners erected at each of the entrances at the sports complex. In light of where the country is moving with vaccinations, has staff or parks, done anything, or are you holding back on this to see? Because some of the things that I think parks talked about in February may not be necessary once we get to the season. So what's your thinking here, Bo?
I think I will talk to Dan and see if they had signage already prepared for the sports complex. I know that we talked about the baseball and everything out there. But if they haven't ordered anything, I guess we'll leave it to Parks Committee in April to decide if we still want to move forward with that or if they feel like we can hold back on some of it. But we obviously still have some existing signage that was out in the
Right.
park. I think we could stick with that and keep that out there.
Okay, I was just wondering if, anything new had been ordered, or if it hadn't been, that maybe we hold off and
We
rediscuss some of that signage.
Janelle did some research for that larger sign that we were talking about at one point and putting that out on the highway. And it got really expensive the second we tried to do it with the appropriate materials. So we kind of held off on making a final decision on that.
Okay, so we'll talk about that at Parks also. I did talk to Janelle and she was going to follow up because it didn't state necessarily in the minutes about the baseball. But when I had contacted John Sawyer after that meeting saying that they could go ahead, John Sawyer was supposed to present a plan of action to the committee. So she was going to follow up on that. So we would have it by the April meeting because they do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I talked to John today. He's actually in Florida. But he did talk to, is it Nick Bastian?
Yes.
Okay, who's actually the head of the county league team. And Nick has been working with Heidi. Heidi also got a call from the gentleman who is the Babe Ruth coach or whatever that's in charge of things that go on at the sports complex. As far as Little League, they don't know if they're even going to have Little League games this year, but Heidi did also talk to them.
Okay, so we have reached out. We
Yeah.
anticipate. Okay, very good. Okay, and then on page 102, I talked about that company Cyber Green. Just wondering if we will have anything for the April meeting, if they've talked to you, Janelle.
I've called and sent emails. I've called like 5 times. I've always left voicemail messages. I'm not hearing anything back either way.
Okay, all right, so so at April's meeting, whether we have anything or not, we're gonna have to make a decision.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to follow up, so if we needed to get something for that meeting, that we would have it.
You know, Door County Broadband has used Cybergreen in the past, so I can see if we have a contact and pass that along to you, Janelle.
Sure, that'll be fine, because, I just called the main office number and that's where I sent the email as well, but if you have someone, that would be fine.
That would be great. Thank you, Nate. On page 104, discussion regarding the plans for utilization and or renovation of the village hall, including the possibility of filling in the basement. Have we, I don't want to talk about the quotes, but have we received other quotes?
I'd have to talk to Dan. I haven't heard anything. Dan hasn't given me an update on that.
Okay, we need an update because we need those quotes by the April meeting.
Yep.
So maybe worth mentioning, the Army Corps of Engineers just came out, and for 2 consecutive months, the water is dropping much more rapidly than expected. I have no idea if that's going to make a difference or not, but it might on that basement. We're still going to be about 2 feet above normal, but we were 3.5 feet above normal last year. So they're projecting between 12 and 20 inches lower water this summer if things remain the same.
Okay, thank you,
We
Pat.
also got less, sorry to interrupt, Pat, but additionally, we also got less snowfall than anticipated this year, so that may play into it.
Yep.
Okay, and to follow up, has somebody from the Parks Department gone around and seen which electrical boxes need to be painted?
I can follow up with that. I'll put that on my list.
I
Thank you.
believe Danny asked Jim to do that. I know Jim's been working on benches and some other things, but I know it's on his list.
Yep.
Just follow up. I want to have answers for the Parks meeting.
So I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but some of the doors on our public buildings, some look great and some look very sun faded, and or you can tell where patches were done. I don't know if that's something worth talking about at Parks, as long as they're going to be going around looking at boxes, is maybe to take an inventory of doors on buildings. I think about like the pump house on Hill or the village hall on the side doors. I don't know which ones, but some of them looked rather faded and deteriorated maybe.
Okay. Add that to the list, Bo.
Yep.
Thanks, Pat. That's all I had on Parks. Thank you.
Okay, personnel,
We have multiple minutes in there. Nothing very exciting, an awful lot of closed session.
okay, plan commission,
Anybody have any questions on the work we've been doing?
Lengthy packets, to say the least.
and this next one's gonna be the same.
Yep, 17 items, Scott. Yep. Yep.
Maybe some
We're
email
earning our
copies.
$75 a meeting, that's for sure.
Time for a raise, Denise.
Okay, SBA,
Yes, we have met. The report on the year end for the room tax, Sister Bay was down 11% in 2020 versus 2019. Door County was down 8%, but Sister Bay popped up a rank. We had been in 2019, we were number 3. This last year, we were number 2. The website and the new website, new brochure are coming soon. I have a list of 7 new businesses in Door County, well, in Sister Bay, I'm sorry. Short Film Fest was a success. 50% of the people who bought tickets, it was virtual, by the way. So 50% of the people who bought tickets were outside of Door County, and they are planning for a virtual option next year when they do it, assuming it won't have to be virtual. St. Patrick's Day, thanks to the Parks Department for the Shamrocks, and Maluska for our gnomes have gone Irish, if you haven't noticed. And the Easter egg hunt is planned for Saturday, April 3rd. They're going to space the groups of kids out a little further, but the Easter Bunny will be there. There will be no goat parade this year. The roofing of the goats may be virtual, but there will be no public event. And they're in the early planning stages of random acts of fun. They're looking at, in the months of July and August, doing little pop-up activities, experiences, perhaps balloons or magicians sort of things, just kind of showing up in a park or an area, just for the tourists to give them a pleasant experience. So if you have any suggestions along those lines, Louise would appreciate hearing. That's
Just
it.
to follow up on the Easter egg hunt, it is being held not in its usual place, but out at the sports complex this year.
Oh, that's news to me. It will, okay.
okay, tourism zone commission,
This is Rob. I wanted to give everybody on the board a little background from the prior tourism zone meeting related to the passage of the room tax increase to go into effect January 1st, 22. For those of you who do not know Brian Nelson from Blacksmith Inn in Bailey's Harbor, he chaired the ad hoc committee that looked into and formally assessed the issue. They had 3 formal meetings that included 8 municipalities and a cross-section of various lodging type proprietors. The ad hoc committee voted 6-2 to recommend raising the room tax. At the prior tourism zone meeting, the full committee by 4-1 majority voted to approve it. And I guess I would say that it may, come as a surprise that there were objections to it. But overall, there was a majority, significant majority in favor of it. And about the main question that came out of it was whether to instill it half at a time, half the increase one year, half the following year. But again, everyone was pretty much in support of saying no, the full bore right away as soon as possible, which will be January of 22. And then Denise, I just have one question, committee related, for you and the board. Is regarding the Parks Committee meeting for April. There is no chance then that it would be the 12th, it's going to be the 5th?
Yes,
Okay,
but you're certainly, you can zoom in and listen to what we're talking about.
I'll be on an airplane coming
Oh,
back
okay.
from Florida with my kids that day, so,
Okay,
okay. Thank you.
thanks, Rob.
Okay, utilities.
Minutes are in the packet. The main thing was the rate study, which we approved tonight.
Okay. Youth Center has not met. And that's it.
Okay, and what do we have to, we have a lot of things to forward to Parks.
You got closed session yet?
Oh, okay. I have to go back to page 1 then to see that, not 206. Okay,
Would it help if I just read it?
I got it. Thank you. Item 11, consider a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin Stats 19.85 sub 1 sub E to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conduct other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and Wisconsin State Stats 19.85 sub 1 sub G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. I'll make that motion at 7:34.
Second,
Second by Bell. Roll call.
Lino, sorry, Baker,
Yes.
force of habit, Berto,
Yes.
Bell,
yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Kadunko. He's not here, and Nino.
Yes.
Okay, so you. Okay,
Okay, at 7:47, I'll make a motion to return to open session. Motion by Berto,
Second.
second by Bell. Roll call.
Baker,
Yes.
Berto,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
and Nino.
Yes.
We are taking no action. So discussion regarding matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee, official, or employee.
I had a thought here since I've already started going down this path, and I'm sure you guys are gonna get sick of this because I'm probably not gonna let go of this for a long time. When we're looking at Pebble Beach parking, we have zero bike, or very, very minimal bike parking in this village. I would really think that we should look at doing that as we're looking at doing the Pebble Beach parking, to have that option so that we can have less parking to get the same amount of people in there.
So bike racks is what you're asking for?
Yes,
The ad hoc committee has already talked about that option when we talked about the parking lots. So that's already being discussed. I agree that some type of bike amenities need to be added.
Good.
But I think Nate's also pointing out, sorry, Pat, maybe Park should also be talking about installing some bike racks. I know that there were 1 or 2 down at the beach. I think there's a couple at the marina, but isn't that just for your bikes? I don't know if there's any at the sports complex. Maybe that's a bigger conversation we need to have on, okay, let's start, where are some places? Maybe we could ask the Piggly Wiggly to put one, even if it's not on village property, maybe work with some other business owners thinking that these might be a good spot. So let's have that conversation also at Parks.
You all know that I do spend some time up at the country house, and if you were to walk through the parking lot in the summer and see the number of visitors that come in with a couple of bikes strapped on the back of the car. It's staggering. It really is. So,
And then you start
That's all
thinking
for
about
you.
how much money those bikes cost.
yes. And now they're coming out with the electric bikes that are like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Oh, so bad.
Yep. So, and I think it's a good idea. If we're going to do it, it is an opportunity. If you look at some of the other communities around here, Bailey's Harbor and Egg Harbor, they have artsy type bike racks that, yes, they're functional bike racks, but then they fit into the motif of they look like a fish or they look like something, in town that, some bike racks just kind of look very ugly, and others don't, that, if they're eye-catching and people are drawn to them and they're using them, that's great. Just something to think about, maybe looking at something that's more than a utilitarian place to tie a bike up.
Great idea. Who can get us some photos from Egg Harbor? Because it's also like the first step in public art.
I know
Yeah.
someone that works for Egg Harbor. I can have them send me pictures.
Okay, all right, let's do that then. Thank you. Okay, all right, if there's nothing else, then I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:51. Motion by Berto,
Second.
second by Nino. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Pat, can you stay on for just a second?
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Hey
evening.
Denise, I sent you a couple